Well, with that, let's move into our first review of the night. This is the film Longlegs from director Oz Perkins, director, I should say. The film stars Micah Monroe and Nicolas Cage and Blair Underwood as well. I'll read a brief description from IMDb about the movie. In pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end his terrifying killing spree. This is an independent picture from the distributor Neon, who had a very interesting marketing campaign leading up to this movie that I think kind of built a lot of hype around it. It definitely worked on me. The funny thing is going into this movie, I had not even seen the real trailer, like the actual trailer for this for this movie. That's kind of rare to actually, at least for me, to get to go into a movie basically kind of blind as to what was going on. I had seen one of those like early, like really cryptic things that Neon had put out that didn't even say long legs in like that teaser that one of the like original teasers they put out. But anyway, real quick, I mean, actually, we didn't really talk about this off the air. I was kind of thinking we probably would not talk spoilers for this movie, unless you would like to. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
No, I think we can go spoiler free on this.
That's what I'm thinking. I think there's probably a lot of you watching who have not seen this movie yet.
Yeah.
So we're gonna keep this review spoiler free. Longlegs. I don't know. What were your expectations going into this?
I didn't really have any. I'm kind of like you. I didn't really know too much about it. I knew who was in it, Micah Monroe, and I also knew Nicolas Cage was in it. Didn't know Blair Underwood was in it, so that was a surprise. And is that Alicia Witt or someone else? Something? Yeah, I didn't know she was in it either. So I kind of went into it only knowing, for the most part, that it was kind of a scary movie, or supposed to be a scary movie.
Right.
And then a little bit before I went to go see it, I think I read something that someone compared it to almost like a Silence of the Lambs. So I only had a very small bit of an expectation of what I might be seeing, but pretty much I went into it really cold. So I didn't have a lot of expectations on what I was about to watch going into it, really. Because I had seen no trailers. So, yeah, I didn't even see the thing that you saw.
Yeah. I think they put out like four different of these like very cryptic, very creepy, kind of atmospheric, weird little teaser trailers that, again, and they didn't even say long legs at the end. It showed that kind of cipher that you see in the movie. Okay. Like at the end, and I don't even know. I'm sure people have decoded whatever it said. I don't know. I don't even think it said long legs. I think it said something else. But anyway, yeah, that's all I had seen. I didn't even really have a sense on what kind of story this was going to be going into it. I was just excited because, I don't know, I was in the mood for a movie like this, and it was just nice not really knowing what kind of movie I was about to check out. So, what did you think? What did you think of Longlegs?
I thought I'm mixed on it, honestly. It was weird because not knowing exactly what I was going into, it didn't have any expectations on what I was about to see. So when it first starts off, and I'm expecting something along horror, but not, I'm not married to the idea that it was horror because I didn't know too much about it. So that first part of the scene, the way it starts, you're into it, and it sets a good mood, and it's very creepy, and it feels on edge where you're uncomfortable because, especially the way it's shot in that beginning, it was like maybe a 4:3. I don't know. It was pretty small ratio that you see as you're watching what's going on. And then it smash cuts to the title of the movie. And I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. And as we're going on, there's this whole story that's involving Michael Monroe's character. She's an FBI agent. And so then there's this Longlegs character played by Nicolas Cage that they're trying to find this character, this guy. And so as the story's progressing, I'm into it. I'm into the story and everything. And I will say it's a little slow, but I'm not, bothered by it. I'm into it. And then I think that where I start to fall mix on the whole thing is pretty much within the third act when other things come to light and it kind of becomes something different than what it was. Then I was kind of like, oh, that's a bummer that they kind of went in that direction with it. Not specifically of what it sort of becomes, but some of the other players involved. And I was like, oh, and I could see certain aspects of where the story was going that seemed kind of uh, maybe obvious. I don't know. Maybe I could just see it and it wasn't obvious, but I'm kind of curious about that. If you had that same sort of thought as the story progressed a little bit of where things might be going, but yeah, I mean, I really thought the first two acts really set the mood and the tone really well, and I was into the creepiness and the whole mystery of what was going on really until about the third act where it just kind of it just felt a little heavy-handed and just not as well crafted to me. But yeah, that was my thoughts.
Um, I really quite enjoyed this movie. Actually, maybe it helped that I didn't have much in terms of expectations because it seems like expectations is a big subject in regards to this movie so far. I think especially in terms of like how scary is this movie.
Yeah.
For instance, I've seen as a quote on some of the marketing, it being labeled as the best horror movie of the year or the scary. I think actually it said the scariest horror movie of the year.
I think I saw that
And
too.
and to that, I would say, well, one, I need to see more scary movies this year, and I've heard that there's some quite scary ones that I have not seen yet. But I have a hard time believing this is the scariest movie of the year, as much as I enjoyed it.
Maybe
It's
the
not
creepiest, but I
maybe
don't know about the scariest.
exactly. It's really not that scary, and that's
No.
fine. Like I think it's a solid film. But if you're going into this movie really looking forward to something that's going to scare the shit out of you and you're not going to I don't think you're going to get that. I mean everyone's different. There's definitely
Yeah.
creepy stuff in this movie like you just said. This movie is a vibe and it's kind of all about the atmosphere of the movie and I dug it. I dug the kind of I don't know what is this movie like set in the 90s I think. I forget.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, I would say so. I believe so.
and this even the look of some of the rooms that they're in and such is just adds to this like vibe of horror films from an era that I don't know I dug it. um and I liked where the ending went. The ending worked for me. Like the final scene I thought was pretty good. I don't know, like no, not a scary film, but one that I enjoyed. And I knew that Nicolas Cage was in this. And again, I mean, it sounds like he wasn't even in much of the marketing. But having not seen the marketing almost at all, I really had no sense of what kind of character he was going to be in this movie, other than that I knew he was like the lead, villain or however you want to refer to him. But I think I was going into it a little concerned. I'm like, is Nicolas Cage going to stand out too much in this, And in some ways he kind of does, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
He works for me overall. That's all I'll say about his character. But I don't know. I don't have a lot to say, especially because we're not going to talk spoilers. But
Yeah.
I I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was quite good.
It
Go
is
ahead.
interesting. No, I was just going to say about the whole Nicolas Cage of it all. There
Yeah.
were times where it felt like Nicolas Cage being over the top, but he would just pull it in before it got to be out of control in terms of his Nicolas Cageism sort
Yeah.
of thing. And it was like, oh, you're teetering, but you'll pull it back. And I'm like, okay, all right, we're good. But yeah, I definitely think that what he did with the character, I was on board with, most of the time. So I don't think there was any time that it was really just out of hand for me. But yeah, there was definitely times where I was like, ooh, we're teetering here.
Yeah. And the movie was surprisingly funny at times, which I wasn't expecting. There were definitely moments in the theater that, we were all basically laughing to. That was another thing that was just kind of nice. Like, I haven't, as much as a horror movie fan as I am, I sadly haven't seen a lot of horror movies in the theater lately. And to go to a movie like this opening night, saw it on the Thursday night showing, the night it opened, and the theater was packed. It's a pretty big screen, and everyone was super into it, and it was just fun. But yeah, like there was definitely these humorous moments that I wasn't expecting, and that was kind of nice. Added, some kind of relief to the tension and like weird atmosphere of the whole movie at times. But there wasn't too much of it to make it like kind of awkward. But
Yeah.
overall, again, I enjoyed it. I would still just though repeat, like for those of you listening to this, watching this, who have not seen the movie, just as long as you don't go into it like expecting to be really scared shitless, I think
Yeah,
there's
I'd
a
agree
good
with
chance you'll enjoy it. But that, if you're going into it like wanting to really be frightened, it's really not that kind of movie.
No.
So